Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya ayyuhal muslimun. To the long-time listener and first-time visitor, we welcome you to this episode. Now, without further ado, let's get into it.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد. Now we move on to the next hadith. You will find that the ulama, they testify to the excellent selection of Imam al-Nawawi with the selection of these particular hadith, because there's great wisdom and great benefit in the way in which he collected these hadith. The first hadith that is collected in the 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi is the hadith of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, the verily actions are by their intentions. This is also the first hadith that is collected by Imam al-Bukhari in Saheeh al-Bukhari. The second hadith that Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala he brings is a hadith that is also collected or also narrated on the authority of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and it is the hadith Jibreel. And this is the first hadith that Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala he brings in Saheeh Muslim. So there's great wisdom in the placement of these particular hadith. So you find that likewise there's great wisdom in the bringing of the third hadith. This is a hadith that has been collected by al-Bukhari and Muslim. In any hadith that is collected by both Imams, Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim, then this is a hadith that is called muttafaqun alayh. So any hadith that is collected by Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim, then this is a hadith that is called what? Muttafaqun alayh. Now, with regards to the hadith that come from this category, are these hadith somewhat strong, kind of strong, strong, or very strong?
Very strong.
Very strong. Now, are there any rating of hadith that is stronger than a hadith that's muttafaqun alayh?
What?
Not this, with regards to their collection, their grading.
No.
Is it? No. This is the highest grade of hadith with regards to the authenticity of those hadith that have been agreed upon as being authentic by both Imams al-Bukhari and Muslim rahimahumullah ta'ala. So this hadith is a hadith that has been agreed upon by Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah ta'ala. And this hadith is on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, بني الإسلام على خمس, that Islam has been built upon five. That Islam has been built upon five. شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله. Islam has been built on five. The first, the shahada, أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله, that nothing has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah, and that verily Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. This is the shahada. This is the first pillar from the 5 pillars of Islam. وإقام الصلاة, and the establishment of the salah. وإيتاء الزكاة, and the payment of the zakat. وحج البيت, أو والحج البيت وصوم رمضان, and making hajj to the house and fasting in Ramadan. Hajj al-Bayt wa Sawm Ramadan. Making hajj to the house and fasting in Ramadan. Hadith collected by
Muslim.
Muslim or Bukhari. Bukhari or Muslim. Now, وقال الشيخ العلامة الشيخ صالح الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى هذا الحديث كالحديث الذي قبله. That this hadith is like the hadith that's before it. Hadith Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu في بيان الأركان الإسلام, with regards to the explanation of the pillars of Islam. إلا أن هذا الحديث فيه زيادة وهو قوله بني الإسلام على 5. He said that is similar to the hadith that came before it. The hadith that was narrated on the authority of
Muslim.
Umar ibn Khattab, collected by Hadith Jibril was by Muslim. Now, collected by Imam Muslim. Ahsant. Now, it's very similar to it with regards to the explanation of the pillars of Islam, or the that's what they call it, right? The pillars of Islam. So, wait, the pillars of Islam. Except for the fact that it brings an addition. It brings an addition that's not contained inside of the Hadith of Jibreel. And that addition, that ziyada, is Buni al-Islam ala 5. That Islam is built upon 5. That Islam is built upon 5. وفي حديث عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال جبريل عليه الصلاة والسلام أخبرني عن الإسلام, inform me about Islam. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الإسلام أن تشهد أن لا إله إلا الله, إلى آخر قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, is that Islam is to testify that nothing has a right to worship in truth except Allah, to the end of the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فظاهر حديث عمر أن الإسلام هو هذه الأركان الخمسة فقط. He says, so what is ظاهر from the hadith of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, meaning what? Referring back to the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, is that Islam is only these 5 pillars. Now, in other words, one may understood by this particular narration, this particular hadith, that Islam is only these 5 pillars. Well then, because it says al-Islam, akhbirni an al-Islam, inform me about Islam, فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله إلى آخره. Right? So one may understand from that it's only these 5 pillars. Whereas in this hadith here, what we understand from Buni al-Islam ala 5, that Islam is built upon 5, that these 5 are from Islam, and that there are other aspects of Islam as well. So we understand an additional benefit. Now, the Shaykh says, بينما هذا الحديث يدل على أن هذه الخمسة ليست هي كل إسلام وإنما بني الإسلام عليها فهي مباني وأركان. So therefore, the Shaykh says, this hadith, it points us to the fact, and it makes it clear that these 5, they are not all of Islam, but rather they are that which Islam is built upon. And they are the foundations and the pillars of al-Islam. نعم. وإلا فالإسلام كثير. The Shaykh says, because Islam is a lot. There's a lot of aspects of al-Islam. والأعمال الصالحة كلها من الإسلام. The righteous deeds, all of it is from al-Islam. الواجبات ومستحبات وكل الطاعات وترك المعاصي كل ذلك هو الإسلام. From those obligatory affairs, those recommended affairs, every action of obedience, leaving off sins, all of this is Islam. نعم. ولهذا قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, for this the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, Al-Muslim, man salim al-Muslimun min lisanihi wa yadih. That the Muslim is the one who the Muslims are safe from his tongue and his hands. Which shows you that what? Which shows you that what? That kaf al-adha min al-Islam. That preventing harm is from Islam. Preventing harm is from Islam. That preventing of harm, whether that harm be verbal or it be physical, whether it be by a person's tongue or whether it be by a person's hand, to prevent harm is thus from Islam. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said that what? Al-Muslim, the Muslim is who? The one who salim al-Muslimun min now, from his tongue and from his hands. So that kaful adha, then it says from what? From Islam. Now, so we understand from this hadith the great understanding. Because one who is unaware, one who is ignorant of the reality of the fruits and the benefits and the selection of these hadith and in the order in which they were placed in, he may deem this to be somewhat repetitive. He may say, well, we already covered this in hadith number 2. So why does hadith number 3 reiterate this point? Because what? Because it brings an additional benefit, which shows that what? That these arkan khamsa, that these 5 pillars, that they are what? They are from the pillars of al-Islam, that which Islam is built on, but they are not the total and sum of al-Islam. Well then. Now, as this hadith here illustrates. The Shaykh says, for Islam wasi'ah. They said, for Islam wasi'. It is extensive. Islam واسع extensive. لكن هذه الخمسة هي دعائم. But these 5, then they are the foundational structure, the pillars of al-Islam. وهي أركان, the pillars of al-Islam. وهي مباني التي بني عليها, and they are the foundation of which Islam is built upon. You see? وبفقدها أو فقد شيء منها لا يكون الإنسان مسلما الإسلام الحقيقي. He says, and if one of them, or if they are missing, or one of them is missing, then you will find that a Muslim won't be a real Muslim. مثلا, if a person doesn't believe in Shahada, he's missing the first pillar. He's missing the first pillar. But he comes with Salah, Zakah, Siyam, and Hajj. Huh? Is that a real Muslim?
No.
No. How? Why? Because he's missing the first pillar. Like, a person, he comes with Shahada, and he comes with Zakah, and he comes with Siyam, and he comes with the Hajj. But he says, you know what? Salah is not from Islam. Ain't no such thing as Salah in Islam. That person's a Muslim? No. He don't believe in Salah. Likewise, we can say the same for each and every pillar. He don't believe in Zakat. He says there's no such thing as Zakat in Islam. But he bring everything else. But I believe in Siyam, I believe in. So we say, not a Muslim. Likewise, say no such thing as Siyam. No such thing as Hajj. But I believe in the rest. Then they're not a Muslim. This is what the Shaykh is meaning here. Is that if anyone loses one of these pillars, then they have lost the Islam. Now, they lost the Islam. And this is why they differ from the other actions. Because if a person infringes upon his Shahada, for example, then there's no Islam for him. Islam is gone. But let's say, for example, there's a Muslim who doesn't safeguard the Muslims from his tongue. So he's always speaking nasty to people, speaking bad to them, belittling them, cursing them, so on and so forth. Now, is that person a Muslim? Yes. He's still a Muslim. Even though he doesn't prevent the verbal harm from reaching the Muslims. He's still a Muslim. So you see how it differs from the Shahada, for example, or from one of these pillars. Because if you lose these pillars, you lose the Islam. But these other good deeds, if you lose them, you don't lose your Islam. If you don't have them, your Islam is still there. So if a person is verbally abusive, if a person hits people, he strikes people, and then when he gets mad, he starts slapping people, then he say what? He's a Muslim. He's a bad Muslim, but he's a Muslim. Whereas if a person doesn't believe in Shahada, doesn't believe in Salah, so on and so forth, then what? It's not a Muslim. Even though he may not verbally abuse people, even though he may not physically abuse people, but because he doesn't believe in Shahada, not a Muslim. Because he believes Salah is not a part of Islam, not a Muslim. Because he don't believe that zakat is wajib, not a Muslim. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. But, so this is how these arkan differ from the other actions and characteristics that are from Islam. Now, these 5 pillars differ from the other actions and characteristics that are from Islam. So then we move on to the first of them. And this is something that each and every one of us, we need to know inside and out. And that is Shahada and La ilaha illallah. The Shahada that nothing has a right to be worshipped in truth except Allah. If someone were to ask you, Ma ma'na La ilaha illallah, then you will have to respond to him with that which is correct, which means that we will have to learn what is the correct meaning of La ilaha illallah. Because you find, unfortunately, the Muslims today, they don't know the meaning of La ilaha illallah. Right? If you were to ask them, some of them may say that the meaning of La ilaha illallah is La Rabba illallah. There is no Lord except Allah. Now, is this the meaning of La ilaha illallah? La Rabb illallah, La Khaliq illallah? Is that the meaning? That there is no Lord except Allah, and there is no creator except Allah? Is that what it means? Is that what is intended by it? No. But is that true? Is Allah the only creator? Yes. Is Allah the only Lord? Yes, that is true. But that's not the meaning of La ilaha illallah. Is that the meaning of La ilaha illallah? Because that only points to at-tawheed al-rububi. At-tawheed al-rububi. Whereas the meaning of La ilaha illallah, it covers all the categories of at-tawheed. All the categories of at-tawheed, but specifically what? Uluhiyya. La ma'buda bihaqqin illallah. So one were to ask you, what is the meaning? Ma ma'na la ilaha illallah? Then the answer would be, La ma'buda bihaqqin illallah. Nothing has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah. That's the meaning of it. So this is important for the Muslims to know. The Shaykh, he says, ma'na. Now the Shaykh is explaining. Al-i'tiqad wal-yaqeen ma'a nuqt bil-lisan. It is a belief, certainty, with the articulation of the tongue. It's not enough for a person just to say, well, I believe it in my heart. But then they refuse to articulate it. If you believe it in your heart, then it's something it should come out on your tongue. Because that which is in the heart, it will appear on the tongue. Even if you don't want it to. That which is in the heart, it will appear on your tongue. This is the haqq. So if it's truly in the heart, the person truly believes it, then it should be manifest upon the tongue. So thus he will say it, La ilaha illallah. The Shaykh, he says, لأنه لا يستحق العبادة إلا الله سبحانه وتعالى. He said, because worship does not belong to anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Worship, it only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَنَّ عِبَادَ مَا سِوَى بَاطِلَةً. And the worshipping of other than Allah, then it is false. وَالشِّرْكِ بِاللَّهِ. And it is to associate partners with Allah, to commit shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal. وَإِنْ كَانَتْ تُسَمَّ آلِهَةً. And even if these things that are worshipped are called gods. So this brings us to another erroneous meaning. And that is those who say that La ilaha illallah means there is no God but Allah. This is how they translate it. There is no God but Allah. There is no God but Allah. La ma'bud illa wa huwa Allah. This is what that means. Now when you say it in Arabic, it sounds disgusting, does it not? La ma'bud illa wa huwa Allah. There's nothing that is worshipped except it's Allah. Because now you understand where this is really leaning to, where this is coming from. You understand now, man? Because when a person says this is wrong from 2 standpoints. The first standpoint is wrong because these other things that are worshipped, are they not called gods? Right? They're called gods, correct? When people worship a tree or a rock or a stone or their idols or human beings or the stars and such, do they not, these practitioners of this shirk, what do they refer to these things that they pray to as being?
Allah.
Gods, right? They say that they're gods. These are our gods. If you point to the false gods of the Hindu religion, for example, if you ask them about this one, and you say, who's this? They'll say, that's my God. Who's that one? That's my God. Who's that one? That's my God. Who's that one? That's my God. They call all of them their gods. Okay? So from the standpoint now, then to say there is no God but Allah doesn't hold weight, because there are other gods outside of Allah. Correct? But these other gods, but these other gods outside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're what? False. Batil. This is what the Shaykh means here. He said that these things, they are batil. Even if they're called gods. Even if they're called gods, they're wrong. Batil. False. Erroneous. Make sense? The second reason why this statement is not true, there is no God but Allah, is because what is meant and what is understood by that is La ma'bud illa huwa Allah. There is nothing that is worshipped except that it is Allah. And this is what they say, hulul. Well, this is what they say with those people who believe in wahdatul wujud, that Allah is everywhere and in everything. To say such a thing is to believe that everything that is worshipped is Allah. So when people are worshiping the rock, the stone, the statue, and that, then all these things are Allah. A'udhu billah. This is clear kufr. And this is why the ulama, they explain that those individuals who believe that Allah is everywhere and in everything, their kufr, their disbelief is greater than the disbelief of the Jews and the Christians and the polytheists. Because the Jews and Christians and polytheists, they restrict the things that they make divine to a particular number. Now, to say that anything is divine other than Allah is too much, is wrong, is kufr, is disbelief, right? But in any event, it's restricted. Whether it be one, whether it be three, whether it be 4, 5, 6, 300, something like this. But those individuals say that Allah is everywhere and in everything, they do not restrict it. They put Allah everywhere and everything. A'udhu billah. So when a person would say this statement, that there is nothing that is worshipped except that it is Allah, then what they're saying is that, or that there is no God but Allah, then what they're saying is that everything that is worshipped is Allah. A'udhu billah. And the people who have this understanding are those who believe that Allah is everywhere and in everything. Now, so we know this is not the meaning of La ilaha illallah, because La ilaha illallah, it comes and it's the kalima of a tawheed. Whereas this statement of theirs that Allah is everywhere, this is a kalima of shirk. This is a statement of polytheism. The kalima of a tawheed can't be explained by saying it means to be a polytheist. That just don't make sense, huh? So we understand that this is not the correct meaning. And this is why we have to be very careful of the literature that we use and that we hand out to people. Because you have a lot of the older translations in English, and they come, and this is what they have. La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. Right? And this is wrong. Now, mind you now, these are all pamphlets by way of which people utilize to call people to Islam. How are you going to call people to Islam and you're corrupting their understanding from the gate? From the beginning, you're corrupting their understanding. Right? So we have to be very careful in the literature that we pass out. And this is why we're selective. People come and say they're restrictive. No, we're not restrictive for the sake of being restrictive, but we're not going to pass out that which has within it misinformation. So this is why if a person came and dropped off a bunch of pamphlets, it could be 100,000 pamphlets, and we find they're in the likes of these mistakes, then we say we have 100,000 pamphlets that we're going to burn. We have 100,000 pieces of things that we can start the fire with so we can grill upon it, right? That's all it's good for. So, if that. Really. But yeah. So it's not that we're being restrictive. No, it's that we refuse to pass out things that contain within it misinformation. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful with the likes of these things. Because a person may say, well, it's just something small. I'll say like, no. And when that thing takes root, this is what it leads to. Because if you were to speak to one who truly understands the ideology of the Hindus, right? And you would ask them, why do you pray to a cow? Why do you pray to a rat? Why do you pray to this statue with these many arms and so on and so forth? They'll tell you, we're not praying to those things, but we're praying to what? To the creator in those things. You understand? Where this concept came from. And this is something that we spoke about a little while ago with the likes of the 5%ers and the likes of the followers of Dr. York and so on and so forth. These people who had this belief. Now, and they're kuffar. Let me just make that clear. The 5%ers are kuffar. The followers of Dr. York and Dr. York kuffar. But these individuals had that same belief that Allah is everywhere and in everything. And because Allah was in everywhere and they say, you know, everything but not the white people. That's their exception. Everything but not white people. That's what it is. Any event, but Allah is in black people. So if Allah is in black people, that means black people's God. So if black person's God, you don't got to pray nobody outside yourself. You understand? You understand where this foolishness comes from? This kufr, this despicable statement. Now, it stemmed from what? From this belief that Allah is everywhere and everything. This is where that erroneous, false, ugly, nasty, despicable, the most disbelieving of statements and beliefs leads to. This is where it leads to. You understand? So this is why we say this is not a small mistake. This is a tremendous mistake. So it's important, it's a must that we educate the Muslims in regards to these affairs, because these are affairs that they are not aware of. These are affairs that they are not aware of. Many of them, unfortunately. The Shaykh, he goes on and he says that these things that are worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're done so in falsehood. And this is shirk billah azza wa jal. وَإِنْ كَانَتْ تُسَمَّى آلِهَةً, that this is shirk with Allah. Falsehood, erroneousness, even if these things are called gods. وَلَكِنَّهَا آلِهَةٌ بَاطِلَةٌ, but these are false gods. These are false gods. فَالْإِلَهِ الْحَقِّ هُوَ اللَّهُ جَلَّ وَعَلَى. The only one who has the right to worship the truth, the only true God, that is Allah Jalla wa'ala. وَمَا سِوَاهُ فَأُلُوهِيَّتُهُ بَاطِلَةٌ. And what is other than Allah, then the worshipping of those things is done so in falsehood. The worship of those things is done so in complete and utter falsehood. And for that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ وَأَنَّ مَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ بَاطِلٌ. Allah ta'ala, He says, and this is because Allah, He is the haqq. Allah, He is the only one that is worshipped true. And verily, everything that is called upon other than Him is done so in falsehood. Is done so in falsehood. When batil is done so in falsehood. This is from Surah Al-Hajj. It is verse 62. Surah Al-Hajj, verse 62. So if someone would have come to you and say, Ya akhi, ma ma'na la ilaha illallah, then say to him, فَقُلْ, say, la ma'buda bihaqqin illallah. And then after that, لو سأل, وما دليل, what's your dalil? Then recite this ayah. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ وَأَنَّ مَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ الْبَاطِلُ. That is because Allah is the truth, and everything that is called upon other than Him is falsehood. Everything that's called upon other than Him is falsehood. So the Shaykh, he says, فَلَا بُدَّ مِنَ الْاعْتِقَادِ بِالْقَلْبِ وَالنُّطْقِ بِالْلِسَانِ وَالْعَمَلِ بِالْجَوَارِحِ. He said there is a must that there is a belief in the heart, a statement of the tongue, and actions of the limbs. Ya ikhwan, what's the definition of Iman in the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Who knows?
Same thing you said.
No. So the same thing I said. We agree? The same thing I just said right now. What is Iman? What is the definition of Iman? No, I mean the definition, not. I'm sorry. The definition of Iman. Yeah. What's the definition of Iman? Iman is what?
Belief in the heart.
Belief in the heart.
The action of the limbs.
Action of the limbs.
You got the statement of the tongue.
Statement of the tongue. Missing one.
Oh, and it increases and decreases.
Increase and decrease. No. Science. Again, so what is it? What is Iman? And someone says, what is the definition of Iman? It is what? Like English, you want to say and it goes up? Is it? Like English, again? What's Iman?
Believe in the heart. In tongue. Action with the limbs.
Increase and decrease. Now, so if a person believes in La ilaha illallah, then he has to have these elements have to be there. That he has to believe in his heart, articulate with his tongue, then act upon it with his limbs. He has to act upon it with his limbs. Now, لأن عبادة لله عز وجل. Because ibadah is for Allah, Jalla wa'ala. It's for Allah. So now what if a person, for example, to say, okay, La ilaha illallah, I believe it in my heart, but then he prayed it, everything. Then we say what? This one, he's not there yet. He's yet to arrive. Why? Because his actions are in compliance to what he's saying and claiming he believes in. Not in compliance. That makes sense? It has to be. It has to be all of these things together for that to be beneficial. But here, so the Shaykh, he says, لا يستحقها سواه. There is no ibadah to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولا يكفي أن تعتقد أن العبادة حق لله عز وجل بل لابد أن تعتقد أيضا أن العبادة ما سواه باطلة. Shaykh, he says also, it is not enough just to believe by itself that Allah is the only one who deserves to be worshipped, or more correctly, that Allah deserves to be worshipped. He said, but also, at the same time, a person must also believe that everything that is worshipped other than Allah is falsehood. That makes sense? Again, he said it's not sufficient for one to believe that Allah deserves to be worshipped, but he must also believe that everything else that is worshipped is false. That worship is done so in falsehood. You understand? Now, you may hear this and say, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? Unfortunately, not everyone is on that same page. The Shaykh, he says, هذا هو مقتضى لا إله إلا الله. He said, this is that which is intended and necessitated by لا إله إلا الله. فإن لا إله نفي. Because La ilaha is nafyun. Now we get into here the pillars of La ilaha illallah. The arkan, the pillars of La ilaha illallah. This is muhim. This is something that is very important. Those pillars are two. Kam arkan? Nine. Two. They are first a nafi, a negation. A negation. Now, that negation is found in La ilaha. This negates. Nothing has the right to be worshipped. La ilaha. And what's understood from that is what? Haqqin. In truth. This was understood. So nothing has the right to be worshipped when? In truth. Nothing has the right to be worshipped in truth. Because bihaq, this construction from jar wa majroor, then this is what? This is the khabar la. This is khabar la. Right? Al-Qulih. Happen again. And that negation coincides with what? Kufr, the taghut. Kufr, the taghut. Now, disbelieving in the taghut, the false gods. You understand? Where do you get that from? That understanding from is from where? La ilaha. So none of these things that these people worship in deserve worship. That's the first, definitely. So what's the first pillar from the pillars of La ilaha illallah is? Negation. Nah, that's the first one. Right? How many pillars it has? Two. It has 3? 4? 1. How many? Two. You sure? You sure? Wait. And the nefi, what part points to the nefi? What part points to the negation? Again.
La ilaha does not have
La ilaha. Wait, la ilaha. Khair. Wa illallah is the second part. Illallah, then it's the exception and the confirmation or affirmation or average. Ithbat. Now, so you got nefi or ithbat. The nefi is the first pillar, and that is to have kufr and what? Taghut. So that's to negate worship for other than Allah. And then the second pillar is ithbat, and that is to affirm worship to Allah and Allah only, alone. Now, Well, so what's the pillars of La ilaha illallah?
Nothing more than
Nothing with that. How many of them? So, what does La ilaha illallah mean? أحسنت نعبد الحق من الله. طيب إيش دليل؟ ليس دليل.
غيره باطل.
سورة الحج. نعم سورة الحج. ها؟
وما تعبدون من دون الله باطل.
نعم.
إن سبيل الله خير والحق وما غيره باطل.
نعم نعم. So again, that's Surah Al-Hajj, verse number 62. 62. ذلك بأن الله الحق وأن ما يدعون من دونه والباطل. نعم. طيب أحسنت. نعم. It's excellent. Wallah, you go to Tabligh for decades, you never learn this. It's not a concern for them. It's unfortunate, but it's not. And this is the problem when it comes to these innovative ways and methodologies, is that they don't give to the people what they need. And this is why these things are fruitless and why they are a waste of time. If you truly want to benefit your brothers, if you truly want to benefit the Muslims, then you have to come to them with that which is most important. That's most important, and then you go to that which is important. Because to go with them, and this is not to say that, because this is where the Shaitani comes and he plays games with people, is that they'll come in and say, what's wrong with, telling the women, encouraging women to cover? What's wrong with that? Telling them to be shy, telling the brothers to be shy, and that. What's wrong with that? Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. They'll say, what's wrong with warning people from drinking alcohol and taking intoxicants? Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, what's wrong with, talking about the fada'il, those superior things of, the superior things, and what's wrong with telling people, you need to soften your heart, and so on and so forth, and cry more, and weep over your sins, and this and that. What's wrong with that? And of course, you'll say, well, nothing is wrong with that. But what's wrong with encouraging people to pray Qiyamul Layl? Nothing is wrong with that. But now here's my question: what's right with going to a people mentioning all of those things only mentioning those things to a people who don't understand Tawheed, to a people who have fallen into shirk out of ignorance? They've fallen, these are your brothers now, Muslims, fallen into shirk out of ignorance. They don't know. They make dua to the wali so-and-so, dead in the grave. We know this happens. Huh? They have these masajid, or maqbara, and they have in it qabur or qabr. And then the people are throwing notes back there, they're facing it, making dua, istighatha, and the like. But even outside the masjid, stuff happens, they call, Ya Abdul Qadir, A'udhu Billah, Naam, Ya Badawi. Sah? This happens. You have a people who this is their understanding. This is their understanding. Like some of the Sufiya from the short smoke. Naqshbandiyya. What they say is you can't make muraqabah, as this is what Sheikh Nassim, Sheikh Al-Bani, the Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned. They say you can't make muraqabah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember we talking about ihsan, muraqabah? فَإِن لَمْ تَرَى فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. If you don't see him, you know he sees you. It's muraqabah. That you know Allah ta'ala sees you. They say you can't make muraqabah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you have to make with the Shaykh. A'udhu billah. Na'am. A'udhu billah. There was one of the students, he came from Syria, came to Egypt, and he said that in some of their masajid, they have pictures of the Shaykh. And they look at the Shaykh before they pray, get the Shaykh in their mind, and they pray. A'udhu billah. He said even some of them people, they used to have wallet-sized pictures. They would put in it, see the pocket? They put in the pocket. He said some of them, before the salat come, they like this. A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. Now, you have a people who are upon this, or who may think this is okay, or who may think this is all right, who may think this is good. So now, what's the benefit in going to them talking about you should pray at nighttime? What's the benefit going to them saying you need to fast every Monday and Thursday? What's the benefit in going to them saying you need to grow your beard? What's the benefit in going to them saying you don't drink khamr, and so on and so forth? These may be issues that they have. Okay, we need to get to these issues, but not first. We get to them later. First, we got to deal with the most important thing. That's like triage, right? Triage. You got to triage a person, you assess him, diagnose him, and say, okay, this was wrong with him. So you got to, okay, like triage, okay? You come into the emergency room. May Allah Ta'ala grant us all safety. But if an individual to go into the emergency room, correct? When you first get there, what they do? They triage you. They triage to see what's your ailment, how severe, what do we deal with first, second, third, fourth, fifth, like this, right? Okay, so you come in there now, and half of your face is hanging off. Huh? It's possible. Maybe he's riding a bike or something. I don't know. Okay? Half his face hanging off. Right? And then he got a splinter in his left finger. Okay? And he got a gash in his left arm. Right? Would it make sense for the doctor, as soon as he come in, to say, oh man, give me some tweezers. Let me get the thorn out of his finger. Let me get the splinter out of his finger first. Right? Or to say, bring me the suture kit. We're going to stitch his arm up. Would that be wise? Would it be? No. That's a malpractice lawsuit waiting to happen, isn't that? You're going to deal with the greatest of his injuries first. His face his face is falling off, hanging off his cheek. So now we're going to deal with this first, because now this will entail different things. He may need a blood transfusion. He may need this. He may need that. Right? So depending upon what's the most severe, what's the most pressing, then they're going to deal with that first. Stabilize him. He done bled out. Good. Give him some blood transfusion. Once we got that stable, now we can start dealing with these other injuries and so on and so forth. Correct? But yeah. Likewise, when you go to your brothers and your sisters and you see that, listen, they don't understand that, they don't understand their affairs with Tawheed. They don't understand what is shirk. If you don't know what is shirk, how you stay away from shirk? Like the Bodhi said, علمت الشر لا للشر لكن للتوقيه لأن من لا يعلم الخير من الشر يقع فيه. He said, I learned evil, not for the sake of learning evil, but so as to be on guard from it, so as to protect myself from it. He said, because those who don't know the difference between good and evil, they're going to fall into it, meaning evil. If you don't know between good and evil, you're going to fall into evil. That's like a person, for example, eating from a buffet, but he can't distinguish between turkey and pork, turkey and ham. He don't know which is which. That person, quite naturally, is going to eat something from the turkey and something from the ham, right? Because he don't know what ham is. He don't know what pork is. Right or wrong? He's going to eat it. But he don't know. He don't know. He may know the word pork. Like a lot of Muslims, they know the word shirk. But as far as the reality, what is shirk? They don't know. Just like this one don't know what is pork. So you say, yeah, we don't eat pork. Then you say, we like a ham sandwich? Certainly. Thank you very much. Would you like some pig skins? Certainly. Thank you very much. They have any hot sauce? Huh? Because they don't know. They just know pork. They don't know what pork is. So, and until it had been made aware of what is pork, they know to stay away. They know, okay, those pork skins, pork, ham, pork, spam, pork, so on and so forth. Right? So it's incumbent that we educate our brothers and our sisters. What is Tawheed so they can do it? What is shirk so they stay away from it? Because if not, they're not going to be able to implement it. And this is going to be the greatest thing. Because if a person were to do all those other things that we mentioned, they don't drink alcohol, they don't drink no intoxicants, or ingest no intoxicants. The women they cover, the men have beards, they pray at nighttime, they fast every week, voluntary fast, so on and so forth. But the whole time they're making shirk. The whole time they're making shirk. What is that going to equate to? Allah Ta'ala, He says, huh? وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ. Allah Ta'ala says, we revealed to you, O Muhammad, like we revealed to those who came before you, that if you make shirk, no doubt about it, verily, indeed, most definitely, your deeds will be rendered null and void. Don't count. So a person doing all these good deeds, right? But he's doing it upon shirk, then what's going to happen when the shirk mixes with the good deed? It's done. It's no good deed. It's no reward. No reward. Now, so if we want to benefit our brothers and sisters, we have to go to them with the origin first. Now, once that's taken care of, then you move on to these other things. Then you concentrate and spend time and effort, much time and effort in these other things. But to start, you have to start with that which is most important. That which is most important. This is why these things are important. This is why these things are a must. This is why these things are necessary. This is why Ahl Sunnah, they are the most beneficial of the people to the people. Because they don't busy the people that which is not going to benefit them. but they give them that which is going to benefit them. Because all of those things that we mentioned, what is going to be the greatest aid? What is going to be the greatest thing that will help you upon these things is that you understand Tawheed, your Aqeedah is correct. When a person's Aqeedah is correct, he understands that Tawheed, he's implementing Tawheed and so on and so forth, then he will be encouraged to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? For Allah, lillah. Nah? So you don't have to worry about this person trying to pray by night to show off or do this and show off and that. He don't care about that. He does what he do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ikhlas. Nah? But that comes from what? From knowing and understanding the affairs of the Tawheed, for knowing and understanding the Aqeedah, for having the Aqeedah correct, for having the Minhaj correct, and so on and so forth. So when you hear Ahlul Sunnah warning people, don't sit with the Mubtadi'ah, don't sit with Ahlul Bid'ah, and so on and so forth, it's for good reason. Why? Because then they're going to bring you harm upon harm, harm upon harm. You have issues, they repair your issues with greater problems. You understand? You have an issue, they repair your issue with greater problem. That's like if you come to me and say, SubhanAllah, I got a toothache. I say, your tooth hurt real bad? You say, yeah, man, it hurts so bad. I say, okay, turn around. You turn around, I get my little baseball bat, and I'll bust you in the back of your head. And I'll say, you don't really realize your tooth hurt no more, right? You said, no, because you split my head. I said, well, you said I think your toothache. I don't think not. They fixed the problem with a worse problem. This is the reality. This is the reality. They give you poison, then they treat you with poison. So, this is why these things are much that we concentrate on them and we share them with ourselves, our families, our brothers, and our sisters, because these things are extremely, extremely, extremely important. Man. So the Shaykh, he goes on, he says, فَالنَّفِي هُوَ نَفِي, that the nafi, the negation, that it is a negation. وَإِبْطَالٌ لِعِبَادٍ أو لِعِبَادٍ نعم لِعِبَادٍ أو لِعِبَادَ مَا سِوَى اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. He says, so it is a negation and a rendering of being null and void, false and erroneous, the worship of other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, وَالْإِثْبَاتُ هُوَ إِثْبَاتُ عِبَادَةٍ لِلَّهِ جَلَّ وَعَلَى. And the إثبات is the إثبات to Allah, or the إثبات to Allah جَلَّ وَعَلَى. Now, there was a khata in the book. They missed the 2 dots for the time on the book. Remember we were talking about that? You people get messed up. Allah musta'an. Now, ala kullin, the ithbat is that we have and we affirm all of the ibadah to Allah Jalla wa'ala. Na'am, فلا يكفي النفي بدون إثبات. It's not sufficient to have a negation without an affirmation. ولا إثبات بدون نفي, no an affirmation without a negation. Na'am, لا بد منهما جميعا, but you got to have them both. So for example, a person that came and they said, okay, nothing deserves worship, intro, and that's it, he stopped. They didn't say that. That's no, it's not going to get you there. Not yet. That's not enough. Okay? Well, a person that came and he said, Allah is to be worshipped, and that's it, but he didn't negate the worship of other things. Then again, that's not enough. You need them both. Nothing deserves worship in truth except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, and this will necessitate, as we said, to have a complete, utter disbelief in all of the tawagheet, in all of the false gods. Now, and it's important that we know and that we understand this, and that we know that this is the haqq. This is the haqq, that only Allah deserves to be worshipped alone in truth, and everything that is worshipped is falsehood. And this is not a relative truth. Now, because some people are coming to make you think this is a relative truth, meaning that's true for you, but not necessarily for them. Okay, that works for you, but not for them, and this is not right. The Shaykh, he says, so you have people saying nas ahra, that people, they're free. Fi aqaidihim, they're free with regards to their belief. They believe like they want to believe. It's okay. Now, kulullahu aqidah, so everybody have his aqidah. It's okay. Now, whereas the Muslims, we say la. Yeah, granted, people gonna believe how they're gonna believe, but we're not gonna co-sign that. They believe like they believe, but their belief is wrong. Because they believe you can pray to a stone. They believe you can pray to a rock. They believe you can pray to a saint, an angel, a prophet, a messenger, that. So we say that's wrong. Their belief is wrong. They're not allowed to believe like that. They do so out of transgression. They do so out of disobedience and the like. But that's not right. We don't support that. That's wrong.